Okay, hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Offside Flag. Yes, we really have got to 5 episodes without giving up. No, but seriously, we're doing this because we enjoy it. So I think that's the main point. I hope you enjoy it as well. I mean, my continuous plugging on Twitter, Facebook, and whatnot is stressful, to be honest.
I don't know about the advertisement for the show, so I presume it is, yes.
Yeah. As we said at the end of the last episode, the subjects that we're going to touch upon, so we're just going to run you through them. We're going to look at whether the signing of 7, 8, 9-year-olds are usually being made by elite clubs are a good thing, a bad thing, or there's no real difference. Is youth coaching in England producing technically inferior footballers on the world stage? Should there be a cap on foreign players in the Premier League? Should there be a wage cap in the Premier League? Or does Leicester City winning the Premier League last season prove that this isn't needed? We're going to go through our Premier League predictions, our top 6, our bottom 3, top goal scorer and top of the assist chart. And then we're going to have a massive argument about whether the Premier League is the best league in the world. So, to start us off, is the signing of 7, 8, 9-year-olds by elite clubs a good thing, a bad thing, or indifferent?
I think it's a bad thing, because if I was 7 to 9 or whatever, and I'd been signed by Chelsea, I'd think, I've made it. I don't need to improve that much. I'm probably going to end up getting a professional career out of it. And I think it does lead to complacency. I think one of the problems is a lot of young players, they get given too much too soon. They don't go through the etiquette of cleaning the older players' boots and all this type of malarkey.
It's not slave labour, mate.
Oh.
That was abolished a long time ago.
But no, it would teach them sort of like a respect, wouldn't it, for sort of the older players that go, just because you're at the club doesn't actually mean, you've made it. So I think that's what I'd want to. I think if I was the parent of a 7 to 9-year-old talented footballer, then I would say, no, don't go to the big club. I'd want them to start off at a lower club, get more experience there, and then it would dispel the complacency, you'd hope. So I think it's a bad thing for the development of the players.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a bad thing. I think my personal opinion is kids should be playing friendlies until they go to senior school. And the reason I believe this is because they can be the most talented. They can be coached. That's not a problem. But what should be happening is they should be coached, but they should be playing friendlies until they get to senior school, so they can learn to enjoy the game before the pressure is put on them by coaches, parents, and people around them. I mean, you got an elite pool of, say you sign 59-year-old kids. How many of them are going to make it?
Yeah, exactly.
How many of them are actually going to make it? As well, academies are making cuts at these ages as well.
Yeah.
So kids are having their dreams shattered before they've even hit puberty, before they even know how to deal with their own emotions. And I think that, I think that kids should be playing friendlies with their junior teams until at least senior school. Don't get me wrong, let the coaches deal with it and get the scouts there, but I don't think anybody should be signed to a club until they are at senior school. I think they should learn to enjoy the game first and foremost, and then when they're old enough to learn and deal with the pressure, then that's when they should be signed to academies of the big clubs.
I think in Spain they don't even keep track of the score and things like that. It literally is just about the enjoyment of the game. which leads on to the next point about youth coaching being technically inferior to counterparts on the world stage. And I'd bring up Spain again because they do a lot more of smaller pitches, you get a lot more touch of the ball, things like that. Because what's the point if you're 7 or whatever playing on a full-size pitch where the crossbar's about 3 times higher than you and things like that? So...
Well, I think what I've noticed is in the last few years they've actually changed that in this country.
Yeah.
And they are playing on a lot smaller pitches, and you're playing 9-a-side until I think it's till you get to senior school.
Yeah.
With smaller goals. In regards to technically inferior coaching, we don't have the funds for it. They don't put the funds in. I mean, the reason. Sorry, mate.
Oh, sorry.
But just to sum it up, I mean, when I read a lot of, I keep in touch with a lot of the FAs and a lot of teams, a lot of junior teams, a lot of women's teams and stuff like that. And when they're advertising for coaches, it's always FA level 2. FA level 2 this, FA level 2 that, FA level 2 this. Okay? When we were watching the Euros and we were watching the build-up to the England-Iceland game, every single coach that coaches at those levels is UEFA B qualified. So they're already one step ahead.
Yeah. So I think we are compared to so even Iceland they've got, but say the big countries like Spain, Germany, Italy, those type of countries, they're mostly UEFA coaches, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I think that is the problem in actually producing the younger players.
We don't put enough money into the coaching. We don't produce enough coaches. We don't produce enough qualified coaches, which means we don't produce enough technically gifted young players.
No.
And don't get me wrong, there are some brilliant coaches in this country. Brilliant coaches, but there's not enough.
Exactly. Especially a country that's so football crazy like we are. You'd think it'd be just a plethora of coaches, but no.
Yeah, you'd have thought that we'd be producing coaches all over the place, but it just doesn't seem that we are. And as well, like, again, it comes down to money. Like, you have to pay a lot of money to go on a coaching course.
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose if you're doing it as a part-time venture, you're not going to prioritise that as where you're allocating your money. So yes, I guess that is one of the stumbling blocks. This should be cheaper to do your coaching.
I mean, when it comes to like the kids' levels and stuff like that, a lot of these coaches that coach the kids. And I'm not talking about academies and I'm not talking about professional football clubs here. I'm talking about your normal run-of-the-mill Sunday league teams and stuff like that. These people are giving up their time to give kids a chance to play football.
Yeah.
The least that the FA can do is qualify them to a good standard. And to do that, there should be funding from possibly Premier League clubs, Sport England, the National Lottery. It's our national sport.
Exactly.
And with these people putting their time and effort into getting as many youngsters into football and getting them to try and enjoy it, then I think it's the FA needs to start taking responsibility, and they need to start putting these coaches and these volunteers through the relevant qualifications, rather than them having to go and pay hundreds of pounds to go and do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
totally agree.
Yeah. Can you imagine the amount of coaches that would come forward?
Yeah.
That if they were given grants to come and coach and come and do their levels and their UEFA B.
I'd make it a government initiative because it would get kids active, and it would say if England ever did get to a point where we did win a major tournament, then it'd be what a sort of boost for the country's economy that would be. There'd be celebrations in the streets, wouldn't there? So
Yeah, I mean, we're looking down the line, and there's very few young kids coming through the academies these days that are getting into their clubs, elite clubs.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is the foreign players, but unfortunately, because the coaching of our young lads and girls, because it's not as technically good as other countries, foreign players are going to get in the side because they're just better players. And
I think that's it, isn't it? It's the foreign players because they've had the proper coaching. It all harkens back to that point, doesn't it? So
yeah,
that's why. But somewhere that isn't struggling for money is the Premier League. We're going to discuss about whether there should be a cap on foreign players now, and I actually think no. I don't think there should be, because I think if you are one of the few English players to actually establish yourself in a top team, then how much are you going to improve by playing around top players every single day? And we only need 11 of them to be decent, so it's not. So I think I would keep the foreign players because it's an easy scapegoat for England to blame. I remember in 1994 we didn't have many foreign players, but we didn't qualify for that World Cup. So what did we find as an excuse then? I just think it's an easy way out, really.
I think it's a non-argument at the moment, because until we're out of the European Union, we can't do much about it anyway.
No.
But once we're out there, I believe that I believe that there should be a cap on foreign players. I believe that our younger players that are playing in the academies should be playing in the English Premier League. I believe that our talents should be playing in the Premier League. And at the end of the day, it's the English Premier League, it's English clubs. Have the odd foreigner in there who is to a higher standard. But at the end of the day, we need to start filtering out a system where our English lads are getting a crack at the Premier League and playing at the highest level, because that's the only way we're ever going to produce a World Cup winning side.
There's an other domino effect though. If you fill it with young English players and reduce the standard of it, then the top managers wouldn't want to manage there, and then it's just sort of the top coaches wouldn't want to go there, and then you've just lowered the standard of the league, really. But you might have loads of English players playing together, but they could go to the Championship or currently, and that would be fine.
But if they it might risk having the Premier League going to a lower standard.
Yeah.
I'm not disputing that, but what I'm saying is our young lads should be getting a chance in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And if we have to take a step backwards to go forwards,
yeah,
then I think that's the way that it should go.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, I can't see us winning a World Cup or a major championship in our lifetime.
Well, I must admit, naively, I thought we might have a chance at the Euros, and we did beat the 4 semi-finalists in the last year. So, arguably, on paper, we were good enough to win that Euros. So,
but we bottled it. Massively bottled it.
Very, very true, yes.
But yeah, I do believe there should be a cap on foreigners, and I do believe that if we have to take a step backwards to go forwards, then I think that's the way it needs to go. I mean, you've got take for example, you've got a lad called Loftus-Cheek at Chelsea.
Yeah.
Who, when he's played for the club, apart from maybe 1 or 2 games through inexperience, he's actually played really well, but he's still stuck behind foreigners, sat on the bench.
This is true. Yeah, from what I've seen, seems a very decent player. So, yeah, I see your point there. But, I mean, say if he goes... He'd probably get into one of the lower Premier League teams, wouldn't he? And then if he does that, he's still playing against all the top players. So, I think it's more... He needs to go back in terms of... Go to, I don't know, a Middlesbrough or someone like that, get first-team football. I think that's more the problem in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal have been the biggest sort of problem with the foreign player thing.
Well,
And the reason this is, it's not because they bring in foreign players, it's because they sign young lads from foreign countries and bring them through and produce them rather than producing our homegrown players. All right, Jack Wiltshire and Aaron Ramsey apart.
Yeah, and Kieran Gibbs, I think.
Kieran Gibbs as well, who, by the way, is still a fantastic left back. I think he's very underrated.
I agree there.
Yeah, the academies need to be pushing through the young English lads as well. It's not just at the top level, it's at the academy level as well. Especially in the Premier League. I mean, you go down the Football League, and obviously down the Football League pyramid, they can't afford to bring in foreign players from clubs like Barcelona and Real Madrid and Juventus and Inter Milan and a whole host of different players. So they've got young English lads coming through, and they're playing lower league football, and they're playing their trade in the lower leagues. And some of these lads are actually good enough to play at a higher level.
I was going to say, it's not a case of maybe Premier League clubs need to look further down to see whether there are any gems in the lower leagues. Because I think that might be the problem. Basically, not thinking that League One or the Championship actually would have players who could ply their trade.
Yeah, they need to dip into the. They need to take scouts out, and they need to dip into the academies of the. Not necessarily. It's going to be quite a controversial view, this, but if you're going to go and get a good English player, go and have a look at the lower league academies. See if there are any decent players there, and if you're going to sign them, give them some money to go and hopefully get either another good player or to develop the academy.
Yeah.
Because if a Premier League club signs a good English player from an academy for a decent amount of money, you would not believe the amount of difference it makes financially to a lower league club's academy.
Like Fleetwood with the sale of Vardy, or even go back as far as Stockbridge Steels, or not? His first club.
Stockbridge Steels.
Yeah, they've named a stand after him because I imagine there was a lot of competition in that regard. But
they're one stand are.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we both disagree on this, whether there should be a cap or not. Obviously, I believe there should be. Gav believes there shouldn't be. But again, football is an opinionated game.
Yeah.
It's all about opinions. And while we're on this, I'm just going to say this because it really, really cheeses me off. In the fact that, as a football fan, when you've got an opinion, if somebody doesn't agree with you, then you're immediately wrong. Just because you believe something doesn't mean that you're right. And I believe that any opinion that any football fan says, as long as it's not derogatory or induces some sort of violence or anything like that, I think it should be respected, because at the end of the day, everybody looks at the game from a different point of view. And yeah, I think football is an opinionated game, and that we're sat here giving our opinions. You might not agree with our opinions, but at the end of the day, if you don't agree with our opinions, then I'd like you to contact us, and I'd like you to give us your opinions, because I'm not going to sit here and go, no, that's crap, and dismiss it. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, we will respect anybody that wants to talk about something. I mean, like I said, my opinion's my opinion.
Yeah, likewise mine, and we will admit when we are proven wrong.
Yeah.
So,
as I did in the last one with Mark Noble.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We're going to stay on the topic of caps, and should there be a wage cap in the Premier League, or does Leicester winning the Premier League prove this is not needed?
I think no. I don't think Leicester's success has proven that at all, because look how all the big clubs have responded. They've gone out into the transfer market. They've bought heavily. and that will probably be the reason why they go back above Leicester and maintain the sort of the status quo that was disrupted last season.
I believe that there should be a cap on wages, and the reason I believe there should be a cap on wages is because I think it will help our youngsters, who will happily play in the Premier League for 10 grand a week, who are being outshined by players that are being paid 200 grand a week.
Yeah.
And the money that I believe that Premier League clubs that are spending this amount of money should be filtering the money down through the football pyramid all the way down to grassroots football.
Okay.
Because it just seems to me that they just pick off players that have been trained by simple Sunday league clubs, Saturday league clubs, all the way up through the pyramid, and they just pick them up, and there's no real they pay money for them eventually, but the club that originally brought them through and started them along their journey get nothing out of it.
Okay.
And I believe that there should be a cap on wages, and people are going to say, oh well, that'll stop the top foreign players coming to the league and stuff like that. But I'm of the opinion that if you don't want to play for the amount of money that you're going to be offered, that's your own problem.
Exactly, and I'd argue to a point it kind of has stopped the top foreign players, because Messi and Ronaldo don't play in this league, so they are, I think most people would say, the top 2 players in the world. So we've already missed out on those 2. But I think, we need a wage cap. I think the Bundesliga has one, doesn't it?
Yes.
I think so. So, I mean, their league, as we're going to touch on later, I think their league is better than our league, or very close if not. So I would agree a wage cap is needed, but I'm very much looking forward to next season with Leicester to see if they can continue their fantastic rise at the table. I'm hoping they do, but unfortunately I've not put them in my top 5, and neither of you have you.
No. As we said, I believe there should be a wage cap. I think they should do it. I think they do it in rugby league, where they're allowed to have 1 or 2 elite players that can break the mould.
Don't know much about other sports really. I only really watch football.
Yeah.
But
I think they can break the mould by I think 1 or 2 players.
Yeah.
But I think that's the way it should be. At the end of the day, you shouldn't be held to ransom by a club. So.
But the MLS
by a player.
MLS have a sort of gentleman's agreement amongst the league that you're allowed 3 players outside the wage cap, and then the rest of them have to be within the confines. Hence why you get Pirlo, Lampard, and then the rest of them are cheap American players. So.
Yeah, I think David Villa's in there as well, isn't he?
Yes, yeah.
Right, it is Premier League prediction time, and this is where in May we will look back and tear up the sheet that we currently have in front of us. Premier League is going to be competitive this season. I believe that any one of the bottom 10 could go down this season, and I believe that any one of the top 10 could nick a European place. So, Gav, do you want to start with yours?
Yeah, sure. I've got Man City, top of the league. I think Aguero will be a big part of that. I've put him down as my top goal scorer for the league season. Then I've gone to United. It's in second. Chelsea third. Spurs 4th. Arsenal 5th, which is one I was deliberating about because I wasn't sure, because they finished second last season. 5th seems a bit of a plunge, but still. And then I've gone for Leicester in 6th place. I think they will still gradually fall down the league, but I think yes, not that quickly. Then what's your prediction there?
I've gone with Man United to win the league. I believe that United will win the league. I think that I think Jose's got that effect, and I think by the time the Premier League season starts, I think he'll have the squad that is and the team that will win the Premier League this season. I've gone for City second. I think it's going to be a big task for City this season, but I think they'll finish second. I've gone for Chelsea in third. I think Conte will get them back up the table, but I don't think he'll do enough for them to win the Premier League. I've gone for Arsenal in fourth. I think they'll be back in their usual spot this year, and I believe this because I think United, City and Chelsea will improve a lot more than Arsenal. Now, this is where a lot of people are probably going to be controversial, and a lot of people will disagree with me. But as we said, it's an opinionated show. In fifth, I've gone for Liverpool, and I believe that Jurgen Klopp will do his will produce his magic at Liverpool this season, and I think they'll have a good season. I don't think they'll get in the Champions League, but I think they'll finish fifth. Now, I know my mate Ross is not going to be too happy with this, but I've gone for Spurs in sixth. Now, I said in a previous show that I believe that Spurs would be looking to finish in the top four or even win the league, but I think that what happened to them at the end of last season will affect the way that this season goes. I think they'll have a bit of a hangover from last season, and I believe that they will end up in sixth. I think they'll end up in Europe, but I think it won't be Champions League unless they win the Champions League. I also think that with them playing Champions League football this season, there's a lot bigger stress on the squad. Relegation wise, I've gone for Burnley to finish bottom. I like Sean Dyche and I like Burnley, but I don't think they'll have enough in there to stay up. I'm going to go for finishing second from bottom. I'm going to go with Swansea. I think they've done a bit of an Aston Villa for the last couple of seasons and flirted with the bottom three. I think this will be the year that they go down, and I think the other side that will go down is Hull, and I believe that a lot of that is to do with the debacle that's happened at the start of the season this season, with no manager, no signings, and loads of injuries. I think that's going to be detrimental to their season. My top goal scorer is Harry Kane. I know you might think that's daft with me putting Spurs to finish sixth, but I still think he'll score a lot of goals. I just think that there's 5 better teams in the league this season. I generally do, and I think Leicester will finish mid-table as well. And top of my assist chart is going to be Mesut Ozil, because on his day he's a magician.
Yeah. Okay, for me, the best player in the Premier League. He sees things no other players see. But we're on to viewers' questions now, I believe.
We don't actually have any apart from the one, which is, many call the Premier League the best league in the world. Yes or no?
Most competitive, I'll give you that, but I would say the best league in the world is La Liga. I touched on it earlier, the top 2 players in the world are playing there. I think there's effect that you want to, if you are just outside that bracket, like Suarez, you want to play in that league. He left the Premier League to go there. And I don't think it's just Real Madrid or Barca, because if you look at Atletico Madrid, always challenging for La Liga, 2 Champions League finals in the last 3 years. Sevilla with their Europa League record, still trying to find a way next season to finish third in their Champions League group to get back into the Europa League. I think La Liga is the best league, and then maybe Premier League, but maybe Bundesliga. I'm not sure where I'd put the second.
I'd say the Premier League's the best league in the world. I believe the most competitive league is the best league in the world. Anybody can beat anybody in the Premier League. It's not like that in Germany. It's not like that in Spain. Italy's quite competitive.
Not well.
Minus Juventus.
And Napoli and Roma. They seem to go on periods where they can win 10 games in a row.
Well,
but
didn't Juventus win 23 out of 24 games in a row last season?
But to be fair, they did lose quite a few games to start off with. So but in the end, yes, once they got the team settled down, they cruised to that league title.
Yeah, I do believe that the Premier League is the best league in the world. I've grown up watching it. I believe that the competitiveness in it, the fact that you don't know from one game to the next who's going to win. I mean, even going to Old Trafford used to be a fortress, but it's not anymore. It might be again this season with Mourinho in charge, but teams were going there and winning. And I think that a league like that is good for world football. I think it's not boring. I mean, not being funny. I know, like Spain, you've got Barcelona, Atletico, and Real.
Yeah.
But you don't want to see the same three teams winning over and over and over and over again. There's got to be some sort of competitiveness. So yeah, I believe that the Premier League is the best league in the world.
But yeah, again, it depends on your sort of way of evaluating. I think for quality, it's La Liga, but for the league I'd pay most attention to probably would be the Premier League, because as you said, it does have the point of teams at the bottom can beat teams at the top on a more regular basis, I'd imagine, than all the other leagues. But again, I just think that technically, that Spain is the best league.
Yeah, but I'd argue that Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi we're playing for teams that are walking the league every season.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. That's very true.
So what I'd like to see them both in the Premier League, and see what they could do.
Mind you, we've seen Ronaldo in the Premier League, haven't we? And he wasn't a bad player, I'd say. Those couple of seasons towards the end.
We do have one more question that was sent in, and it's a good one. Apart from Rory Delap, is there anybody else that can do it on a cold Tuesday night in Stoke?
There can't be.
No,
No,
there isn't. I don't know why, but there just isn't.
I think it's been scientifically proven you cannot do it on a cold Tuesday night in Stoke.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you. That has been episode 5 of the Offside Flag. I thought for this episode I'd do the closing speech. So that's thank you from me, and
that's thank you from me. We will see you next time. Thank you.